Hello, my dear friends. I've often encouraged people to compliment others and to make them feel good about themselves. And I've wondered, is that a mitzvah in the Torah? Or is there a basis for that mitzvah in the Torah? It's certainly a nice thing to do, but is it rooted in something that it says in the Torah? So there's a Rashi in this week's Parsha that seems to indicate that there is such a mitzvah. The Chumash describes in this Parsha of Savo, there's a system of meiser, of tithing in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. A farmer grows produce, 10% is given every year to the Levi. Another 10%, there's a 3-year cycle. The first and second year, an additional 10%, the Jew takes to Yerushalayim and he has to eat the fruit in Yerushalayim. That's called Meiser Sheni. And the third year of the cycle, he gives that 10%, instead of eating Yerushalayim, he takes the second 10% and he gives it to the poor. That's called Meiser Ani. This was like an enormous accomplishment. You had to have tremendously strong bitachon, emunah and bitachon, because the Jewish farmer is giving away 20% of his income either to be eaten in Yerushalayim or to be given to the Levi and the poor. And the Torah says that after the end of each 3-year cycle, the Jew should recite a certain formula. He says that I gave all the tithes that I was supposed to give, and I think that's the purpose of that is the Jew should know that he did something of monumental importance and a terrific reflection on the conviction of the Jewish people. And therefore there's a long statement, a number of psukim that he recites when he finishes giving these tithes. So as part of that formula, the Jew says, Shemati b'kol Hashem Elokai, I listened to Hashem, Asisi k'chol shitzi v'isani. I did as I was told. So first you'll note that it seems to be redundant. Shamati, Asisi, I listened and I did. Why does it? It's repetitive. But Rashi says on the second phrase, Asisi k'chol shitzi v'isani, Rashi says, Simachti, Samachti v'simachti bo. I was happy and I made other people happy. Who did he make happy? He made the Levi happy and he made the poor person happy. I was happy and they were happy. And the Chumash says earlier in Parshas Re'eh that when you give Meiser, you celebrate and the Levi will celebrate. So the Chumash already makes reference to that you should be happy and make the people happy. So Rashi says that when it says that I did everything I was commanded to do, it means that I was happy and they were happy. So 2 questions. Number 1, why does Rashi make this comment on the second phrase of Sisi k'chol shitzi v'isani? I did as I was told. He could have made that. He should have said it about the first comment. Shamati b'kol Hashem Elokai. I listened to Hashem. And by the way, the Rashi is based on a Mishnah in Meiser Sheni. So on the first phrase, Shamati b'kol Hashem, I listened to Hashem. In Parshas Re'eh, Hashem says you should be happy by giving Meiser, and you should celebrate together with the poor. So Rashi, on that phrase, Rashi should have said, Samachti v'simachti bo. Secondly, the Dumna Magid asks a terrific question. The Dumna Magid asks, why does it say, Osisi kichol asher sivisani? The letter Chaf is a Chaf HaDimyan. It means like. Osisi kichol means I did like you told me. If it would say, Osisi kol asher sivisani, means I did exactly like you told me. Kichol means like you told me. So the Dumna Magid asks, what do you mean like? It's not like. I did exactly as I was told. I gave the Meiser, and I made everybody happy. I was happy. They were happy. So why does it say kichol? So I would like to suggest a novel explanation here. And that is that when Rashi says that samachti v'simachti bo, I was happy and I made other people happy, Rashi doesn't mean that when I gave Meiser, I was happy and I made other people happy. Rashi means to say that this is a general principle in life, that a person has to be happy throughout one's lifetime, and a person has to constantly look for opportunities to share the simcha with other people as well, to be mesameach other people. Samachti v'simachti bo. They're not limited when you give the meiser, or nowadays that we don't have meiser, so you'll say that mitzvah doesn't apply to us. No. That mitzvah of samachti v'simachti bo applies today as well, even though there is no meiser. You have to be happy, and you have to make other people happy. Where does Rashi see that this concept of samachti v'simachti bo relates to the second phrase that I asked before? Why does it relate to the second phrase and not the first phrase? Because the first phrase says, Shamati kol Hashem Elokai. It means I did the letter of the law. I listened, I did exactly as I was told. The second phrase adds the chaf hadimyan. I did like I was told. That means it's not exactly what I was told, it's like I was told. It means to say, I did the spirit of the law. If Hashem says that you should make the Levi happy and you should be happy when you give Meiser, so you could extrapolate from there that that it's not only important at that particular, that God is giving you an example when you can be happy and how you can be happy and how you can make other people happy. But from there you learn that it's a general way of living one's life, that a person should always be happy and a person should make other people happy. And that's why it says, it's the spirit of the law, it's not the letter of the law. The first phrase, Shamati b'kol Hashem, that's the letter of the law. I did exactly what you told me. I gave the Meiser and did everything. But the broader concept of Samachti v'simachti, I was happy and I made other people happy, not only with Meiser, but in general, that's the second phrase. Asisi kichol asher tzivusani. I did like I was commanded to do. You didn't tell me specifically, but I understood on my own that's if it's inherent in the fact that there's a mitzvah to make people happy with Meiser, that you see that it's a value, it's important. So if it's important, then it applies in general in life. So from Rashi, I think the fact that Rashi says samachti v'simachti, and he doesn't say limited with Meiser, it's a general principle. That to me is a source that there's a mitzvah to be misameh, that person should be happy himself, and it's a mitzvah and just like being happy yourself, it's for sure it's not limited to when you give Meiser, because there's a concept, Idu Hashem simcha, you're supposed to serve Hashem with simcha. So similarly, v'simachti, when you're supposed to make other people happy, it's not limited to Meiser. It's a general principle that I should find ways to make other people happy. So one way that you make people happy is by complimenting them. Tell them if they did something special, you should compliment the individual. I've mentioned this in the past. When I find a sefer that moves me and inspires me, if the author is alive, I'll call the author up and I'll thank the author that they wrote a sefer that I found so inspiring. So this summer, I was in a shul I was in Eretz Yisrael, and I was in a shul, and I saw a sefer that I never saw in America. It's called Birchas David. It was written by Rav Daniel Ochion, and I was so impressed with the sefer. It's beautiful concepts on the parshas of the Torah. It's 5 volumes, and with beautiful stories. So I called up the author. His phone number is in the jacket of the sefer. I told him, Rav Daniel, I read your sefer. It's magnificent. And he thanked me very much. He said, you give me encouragement. But I also said to him, how do I buy the sefer? Is it available in America? He said, you can't get it in America. So I said, is there a way I could buy it in Israel? So he said, yeah, he'll arrange that his son-in-law will bring it. He lives in Yerushalayim. I could pick it up from his son-in-law. So I got it from his son-in-law. Or actually, his son-in-law brought it to me. But I had a problem because my suitcase weighed exactly 50 pounds, and I had, it's 5 volumes. It's a big sefer like this. I couldn't put it in my suitcase, so I felt it's worth it. I'll put it in my carry-on, and my carry-on weighed about 50 pounds also. Fortunately, it didn't weigh it with all those svarim. I had some other svarim too, but I was so excited to be able to take the sefer back with me to America. And I was reading the sefer, I saw a beautiful story in the sefer that I want to share with you. He tells the following story. There was a fellow who was a gardener, and he went, those of you who are my age know what a telephone booth is. Those of you who are young, if you don't know what it is, you can look it up on Wikipedia. There used to be this thing that you would go into to make phone calls. That was called a telephone. Not everybody had cell phones. Nobody had cell phones in those days, back when. So there was a fellow who went into a telephone booth it was in a restaurant, and he was making phone calls. And first he was a gardener. So first he called up one person. He says, I'm an expert gardener. I'd like to offer my services to you. So the person says, I already have a gardener. She says, yes, but I'm really an expert. Maybe I could offer more than your current gardeners. He says, we're very satisfied with our gardener. He's terrific. He says, well, I could offer you a better price. no, you can't offer a better price. The price that they gave us is magnificent. It's exceptional. Okay, so then he says thank you, and he hangs up. Then he calls another person, and he goes through the same spiel with the second person. I want to offer my services, and he says it's not necessary, and I'm an expert, and I'll charge you a good price. It's not necessary. And he was doing this for maybe 15, 20 minutes, kept on calling different people. So finally, the owner of the restaurant overheard the conversation. He feels bad for him. He's trying to find business. So he tells the gardener, he says, I understand that you're a gardener. I have a house. I'd like to hire you to be my gardener in my house. So the person says, I'm sorry, I don't have any time. I have no free slots. I'm booked. So the man says, what do you mean you're booked? I just heard you on the phone. You were calling so many people to ask them if you could be their gardener. If you're booked, why are you calling all those people? She says, oh, you don't understand. He says, I'm a gardener. I have my clients. They never tell me if they're satisfied. So once a year, I call them up and I ask them, I pretend to be somebody else, and I ask them, do you need a gardener? And they say, no, we're very satisfied, and I can give you a better price. No, we're happy with the price as well. Then I know they're satisfied. That makes me feel good. What do you learn from this story? You learn that a person needs to know that even when you pay somebody a salary, people think that if I'm paying a salary, many employers, they never compliment their workers. They never tell them you're doing a great job, because why have to compliment them for? I'm paying them. Do I have to compliment them? Or if you go into a store and you deal with a salesman and they help you, why do I have to thank them? They're getting paid. That's their job. Or even in a supermarket, you go to the checkout clerk. Why do I have to thank him? He's doing what he's paid to do. So the story shows that everybody has a need to be thanked. People would like to know that you appreciate what they are doing. So I had a story 2 days ago. This is what happened to me with this story. I was in the story started 2 or 3 weeks ago. I was in ShopRite, and there was a man, an African a person of African descent. I think he told me he's from Nigeria. He could barely speak English. I was looking for peppers, and it was actually apples. I was looking for apples, and the apples none of them looked good. So he said to me, I have a new box that I could share with you. You could take straight from the box. These are brand new apples. The other ones are old, so they're not so good. They're bruised. So I was so appreciative to him. I said, thank you so much. And I started to have a conversation with him. And I asked him, where you're from? He said he's from Nigeria, and he's in America just 2 years, and he can hardly speak English. I said, you're doing a terrific job. And it was so nice of you to offer to share the apples with me. And I said, if not for you or people like you, we wouldn't be able to buy anything in the store, because you're the one that puts it out. Okay, that was my conversation. I came back to the store 2 days ago. I didn't even recognize the fellow, because I only spoke to him for about 30 seconds. He sees me, he runs over with such a big smile. He's so excited to see me, and he gives me a big handshake, and how are you, and everything and this. You see how, just by telling him that you're doing a good job, and I appreciate what you're doing, it made such an impression upon him that he had to come over and thank me. And we don't realize how much people would appreciate if we thanked. I mean, there's so many examples where we just take people for granted. And one of the reasons why that happens is because we feel it's not my job to thank the person. Why do I have to be the one to thank them? A terrific example is in the shul. There's so many people doing things, so many volunteers. Is it my job to go to the president or the rabbi, or whoever it is, and tell them, or the gabbai, and say, wow, you're doing a great job? That's their job, and let somebody else tell them. Why do I have to tell? I say that's their job. The rabbis maybe has a salary, but the other people, they're volunteers. But still, they volunteer. It's not my problem. They volunteer. I don't have to go tell them they're doing a good job. But simachti, Rashi says, you have to make people feel good. Samachti, it's not only is enough for you to be happy, but you have to simachti, make other people feel good. Go over and tell the president, and tell the gabbai, and tell the vice president, and tell the person that puts away the svarim, and tell the person that makes phone calls for the shul. We have a volunteer shul. There's so many people that do so many things, and they set up shul and set up the kid. So many things are done by and the youth leaders and the youth directors. There's tons of people that they would appreciate if we would go over and give them and say thank you. I appreciate what. Don't take it for granted, and don't think to yourself, it's not my job. Let somebody else. It's everybody's job. If everybody will think it's not my job, so nobody will do it. It's an opportunity to be mekayim a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah of simachti, and there's so many opportunities in life to find ways of building people up and showing our appreciation. And even I was maybe I mentioned this once before. I went to see the author of Piskei Teshuvos, Simcha Rabinowitz at Eretz Yisrael. It's a fantastic story. He's sefer. He's a tremendous Talmid Chacham. It's a sefer on Orach Chaim, on Shulchan Aruch. I use the sefer all the time. I was so excited. I had an opportunity to meet him personally. I told him, you know that people around the world are using your sefer. He said, that gives me such chizuk. It gives me such encouragement to know that, and I would have thought, he's head and shoulders above most people. He's a big tzaddik. He's a tremendous Talmid Chacham. He doesn't need my compliment. It made a difference to hear that people around the world are using your sefer, not because he was arrogant. He was a very modest person. But it gives people encouragement, and it makes people feel good when you tell them that you're doing something right. So I think that this is a terrific source for Rashi. Samachti v'simachti bo. I'm happy, I was happy, but I made other people happy. That is a tremendous mitzvah. And it's such a big mitzvah that it's in this vidui that we say, this formula that we say when we give Meiser. We have to say, Asisi kechol asher tzivitani. I did like you told me, because that's the spirit of the law. That's what the Rebbeinu Shalom wants. He wants that we should have a relation with people where we show our appreciation and we tell them that they're doing a great job. And you can tell your gardener, and you tell whoever it is that services you. I always tell my mailman that he's doing a great job. And my mailman, he loves me because he sees me. He runs over to say hello because I tell him you're doing a great job. It's not the most complicated job in the world, but it's tedious. And I said, the rain or shine, the snow, you're always delivering the mail. People appreciate to be acknowledged, and that is such an important thing to do. And during the month of Elul, where we're looking for ways to get more mitzvahs and a way to improve our midos and our character, I think that's something important to focus on. Let's do Sisi Kichol Asher Tzivitani. Let's do not just the letter of the law. Let's do the spirit of the law. Find ways to make people be happy. We should be happy, and they should be happy. And in Mirz Hashem, that would be an appropriate way to prepare for the Yom Hadin. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful Shabbos.